I'm Jo Whittemore. I am the author of the Supergirl series, and I am here today to talk about making comics accessible to everyone.
What was your first introduction to comics?
When I was a little kid, most people don't know the comics as well, but it was things like Little Lotta and Richie Rich and Archie comics, of course. So that was my first exposure, and then later on when I got older, and that's why David is one of the people on the panel, is City of Heroes. I was playing the game, and they started issuing a comic to go with it, and so that was my adult foray into comics.
The first comic you read, do you remember what that was?
What was the first one I read? It was probably like a Little Lotta. And so she was this heavyset girl, and everybody picked on her, but she was also incredibly strong. So she was kind of a superhero. But people picked on her, and it was kind of like, it was about acceptance, I think. And so she would, people picked on her at first, and then she rescued this child that was in trouble, so.
How do you get into the mindset to create these scenarios for your character? What gets you into that mood?
Honestly, for the Supergirl books, I watched there's a CW television show that these are based off of, and I watched those episodes ad nauseum until I could actually I could get the voices of the characters down, and so then it was just a matter of inserting them into situations, and of course, who the character is defines how they'll react to a certain situation.
Who is a character that you wish that you would be able to get to write for? Is there someone out there that is on the bucket list?
Yeah, Attack on Titan is it's a really good anime show,
yeah.
And so probably Mikasa.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now going back to the origins of comics, the art, does the art come first, or do your storylines come first? How does it work?
I would say that the storyline comes first, and then the art. I don't want to just say it accentuates it, but it also helps tell a second layer of story with it. So, and it's the same way with children's books, is that you write the story first, and then the artist comes through and adds everything that lends more depth to the story.
Now, fleshing out a character, they're already established, but do you add, there's certain quirks to your personality? Do you add that into the mix?
Oh yeah. So, I mean, even with existing characters like Supergirl and all of her friends, I added my own little bits of the origin story for them. So, things that they might be afraid of that weren't mentioned on the show, but now I'm able to mention them in books, and so it helps you know a little bit more about the character.
Being an Asian woman in comic, was it a glass ceiling? Did you feel like you had to break through?
It actually hasn't been that difficult. Thankfully, we're getting to a point where people of color are being recognized more in the literary community in general. So it's pretty great, and I'm able to make sure that people of color are represented in stories. So that's a bonus.
Can you make a Hispanic character that's not a bad guy?
Actually, in the first book of this series, it is called Age of Atlantis, and so people in National City regular people start developing superpowers, and so there are a couple Hispanic characters that become superheroes.
When you were a little girl and you were fleshing out stories, did you get started in school, or how? Because the reason I'm asking is because I want to take it to ideas.
Right, yeah, absolutely. When I was a kid, I was already telling stories, and I faced my first critic when I was in second grade, I think. I wrote a story about this girl named Candy, and she sees this elephant out her bedroom window, and as I was typing it, one of the boys from my class came by and was like, "Candy's a stupid name." And so I stopped writing, because when you're in second grade, you're not ready for the criticism yet, but that was my first literary critic.
Oh, got you. DC World and Marvel.
There's definitely a bit of a difference with how they flow. I think Marvel Cinematic Universe tends to be doing a little bit better than the DC Cinematic Universe, but DC tells amazing, awesome stories through comics and through their books.
Now, what can we look forward to the future? Because everything's always gearing towards the future. What do you have coming up?
Yeah, so I have the third Supergirl book in the series, and that one is tentatively titled Supergirl Master of Illusions, and that one is going to have Felix Faust.
Now, what do you listen to? Do you listen to music, or how do you put on headphones?
I actually listen to Blake Neely wrote he does all the composition of music for the Supergirl show, so I listen to him as I write, and that way whenever I'm trying to do emotional scenes for Supergirl, it's easier for me to do.
Wow, wow. So do you get into the character yourself when getting into that mindset?
I have.
You become her.
I haven't tried to fly yet, thank God. That would go poorly. But for a couple of fight scenes, Supergirl has a sister named Alex Danvers. And so I have actually worked with my husband on choreographing fight scenes because he's a martial arts. He's Kung Fu master. So
Nice.
I work with him and I put on the same outfits they would wear and I go through the motions.
Now, does that add the flow to, since having martial arts background with your husband and stuff, does that add to it?
It kind of shows you how you can use martial arts in a good way as well, because, people always say, in the past, Asian people were always cast as the bad guys.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
so this is kind of a way of showing, with martial arts, you can use it to defend yourself and also to protect others, and it doesn't always have to be about attacking and violence.
Awesome. Anything you want to get to the San Jose audience out there? Anything you would like them to know?
Just keep reading, guys, because we do this for you.
We are in retreat.
So very psycho. Let me out the so psycho. So psycho. Come and show 'em where I am.
Destroy the humanoid. Intruder alert, intruder alert. Intruder, intruder,